Okay, episode 1. Welcome. You are here. Thank you for joining the Lit From Within podcast. I am your host, Michelle Magana, and I'm so happy to be here, honestly, and I'm so happy you're here. I'm actually recording this the day it's due, which is so on brand for me. I have been talking about this podcast for like 2+ years, and I just kind of needed to set a date so that I get it started, and I work better under pressure. So yes, I'm nervous. I'm also excited. Here we go. In this first episode, I will tell you why I want to start a podcast. I'll give you a rundown of my life. We can go through an eras tour of who I was at specific ages so that you get an idea of who I am. Later, I'll tell you about my goals with my audience, what to expect in this podcast, and let it go from there. So why do I want to start a podcast? Well, for one thing, I already talked to myself, and if you didn't already know I was weird, you're in for a treat. I also feel like I needed a creative outlet, and I think every weird kid needs a creative outlet. Not that I'm a kid, but you know what I mean. I also just love podcasts. They make me feel like I'm less alone. I also feel like I gain so much perspective when I listen to them, and certain topics just allow my mind to get lost in conversation, which could be fun, distracting, and something to do while you multitask as well. I also enjoy listening to other people's stories, hearing them talk about their dreams, influences, ideas, their love and passion for things, and that's what I'm also going to ask my guests, hence the title, Lit From Within. So my goal is to channel that within other people as well. I don't know about you, but there's something sweet and special about listening to other people talk and being able to hear the emotion in their voice. It just feels very human and more connected, in my opinion, than Instagram and edited videos and reels and all that. Plus, if you ever miss someone, you can go back and re-listen, which I think is kind of special. There's something about the host to audience connection. When I listen to podcasts, I feel like I develop a friendship with the person, or I know them. I am spending a lot of time with them, and you kind of feel like that's your friend. So I would like to find my people and have this connection where we understand each other, even if we don't know each other, if that makes sense. These are all things I really love about podcasts, and if I could provide any sense of community or information or help, I would love to do that. Okay, now I will tell you a little bit about the basics of myself. To start off, I'm 27, and I feel like I can actually talk about my life in retrospect now versus in my earlier 20s. I definitely could not do that. When I look around, I'm always constantly telling my friends, like, wow, we're in the future, because you just see how things like turned out and developed, and I feel like I can actually talk now and make sense of things. While I was doing research on myself, I realized I'm not only a millennial, I'm a Gen Z cuss. And I think that's kind of cool because I do understand both age groups and their vibes. And if I do anything like too Gen Z-ish, I feel like it's a little excusable. I grew up in LA. I'm from the San Fernando Valley, if you know where that is. And I'd proudly say I'm a Valley girl. If you can't already tell by the way I talk and how many times I say like, but we aren't going to focus on that. I do think I am a product of my environment, but aren't we all? This statement could go both ways, actually. I am a product of my environment in the sense that I am coming out of LA. You'll see what I mean by that. When you learn about my family, you'll see that I also turned out to be exactly opposite of my environment, and we'll get into that later. I feel like there are a lot of different types of girls that come out of LA, and I'd probably place myself in the basic category. I thoroughly appreciate being born here, though, and I know if I wasn't born here, I'd want to be here or in New York. I love all the things basic and LA, like I go to hot yoga, I love spending money on expensive coffee, I love our mini hikes, the aesthetics, and the trends, and I'm gonna be honest, I love a good pop culture moment. My Roman Empire consists of all the inspiring women who survived Hollywood and created their own empires. This one will definitely be an episode in the future, but I grew up around this, and I also notice it and see it on TV, and like it's just a part of who I am at this point, I guess. This year, Vanderpump Rules has actually had me in a chokehold, and you know what? I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I wouldn't change a thing. Anyway, let's move on from the cringy parts of me. We are gonna start the Eras Tour. So now we are going to enter my Eras Tour. I'm going to mention my age and tell you pretty much what was going down at that time. All right, let's start. 0 to 5. Back then, I was just vibing. Things were good. I was an only child for like 2 years, and I still had a grandma, so things were pretty good. Then my brother joined, and I was pretty much promoted to big sis. Ages 5 to 10. I remember being shy. I loved playing outside. I was kind of a tomboy. I had just enjoyed playing with my little friends and making them laugh. I also met 3 of my best friends in elementary school, which is kind of a fun fact, and you'll definitely meet them. 11 to 13, middle school. I'll always feel like middle school was a prime to me. If anyone else went to my middle school, like it was just so fun. I met the rest of my best friends here who are more like sisters, and we all met in 6th grade. Back then, we would get lit. We had the best time. Like, these days were so fun. We were just fools, and it was just so fun to have like such a little squad of friends that like were just as weird as you. At this time, I remember like letting my friends do my hair, so I became a little bit more girly, and we were all just funny little weirdos. Like, we really connected on that. This was also our Twilight and Harry Potter era, so that should kind of give you an idea of where we were at and what the times looked like. Team Edward, by the way. Ages 14 to 16. I'd say high school put me in a little shock. It was definitely different vibes than middle school. I wouldn't say I felt comfortable, but I definitely started feeling more comfortable in 10th grade when I met my first love, volleyball. At the same time, I remember my family starting to experience some hard times, and they felt small, but in retrospect, they were like little moments of trauma. We'll talk about that later. 17 to 18. What a roller coaster. Yeah, it was fun, but it was also a lot. I feel like I was very indifferent with who I was. I started experiencing a little bit of bullying, and I remember it made me create a shell around myself. And at the time, I was happy with my friends and my friend group and volleyball, but I was also trying to maintain my confidence while navigating like the cruel and confusion of high school, which I hope you didn't have to do that. Ages 18 to 20. I feel like these times were really rough. I had no sense of direction, no role model or person I could ask for advice from. I was also winging like this newly found adulthood after high school. I would say I was not my best self during these times. I began experiencing heavy anxiety, and I really did not know how to balance like working, a relationship, my friends, drinking, and I had no real plan. Like, I was trying, but I really was not very responsible. I'd say I was lost. I just didn't know it. For some reason, I just thought things would work out for me without my full effort. 21 to 22. I feel like I remember I felt like an adult at this time. Right before my 21st birthday, I moved to Chicago to live with one of my older best friends. Her name is Tamar. You'll meet her. And I just had the opportunity to leave and get far away from LA, and I took it because I think I just felt really overwhelmed here, and like things were just going downhill at the time. I'm so thankful for this opportunity because 1, I love Chicago so much. 2, I really got to know who I was on my own. And when I moved back to LA, everything was different. Like, for me mentally, I just had like a different perspective. When I got back to LA, this was when I started yoga, and thank the heavens for that. It completely saved me and transformed my whole life, I'd say. 23 to 25. I definitely felt a shift at 23. I remember thinking like, all right, I'm old. Time to get your shiz together. Just kidding. But no, I remember I turned 23 in Hawaii with my friends, and literally right when we got back home, the pandemic hit. So everything changed. At this point, I had been doing yoga consistently, and I started to actually feel the ways it was helping with my anxiety, self-love, and it did restore some of my confidence, which was nice. I was also taking school way more seriously, and I finally graduated. It was easy to focus and just turn inward at this time, considering the world paused. And for someone who gets very distracted, this was the best case scenario for me. I also drastically cut out drinking because I just wasn't going out, and this unintentional shift was game-changing. 26. I remember I continued working on myself through 26. I practiced not drinking as much, and I took my goals with my health and habits a little deeper. I started reading. I started spending time with more intention. I started questioning my relationships and people around me. I also started working on my family dynamics, and this was hard, but so necessary and very worth it. 27. How did we get here so fast? All right, I guess I'm 27 now. I went to Bali this year about 2 months after I turned 27, and my goal was to take my yoga practice to a deeper level. I also wanted to know what the instructors knew because they are like superhumans to me. I was truly inspired to look deeper within, and I did. My best friend Jennifer was with me, which was so special, and we share this life-altering experience together, which is so cool. If I ever want to talk about it, like, she understands. Right now, I'd say I'm leaning into whatever makes sense for me and what looks and feels right, and I'm just working from there. I've learned how to just trust my instinct and try to align myself for a better future. I'm excited to stay 27 for a few more months and see what it brings. So yeah, you kind of got an idea of who I was at every age group. I hope that helps with giving you an idea of who I was and what I was experiencing somewhat throughout my life. We will touch back and get to things. And if you have any questions, like, let's talk about it. Now, in relation to you, my audience, I would say that I'm not really like big sis vibes, but rather your big sister's best friend. I won't judge you, but I'll definitely be there for you and not give you parenty vibes. My goal is for my audience to be like an extension of my friends. And if you're connecting with the things I'm saying, I'm sure in person we would somewhat vibe and be able to have a conversation and talk. One of my serious goals is to actually help with loneliness. I feel like, at least from what I've learned, loneliness leads to depression. And, you know, life is so short. I think everyone deserves to have like simple happiness, less anxiety, and it's just hard already. So it helps to have a friend. So that's kind of what I'm trying to be for you. That being said, my DMs are open. I'm pretty chill if you want to talk. Yeah, I'm here. In the future, I will have some deeper episodes. I do think intentional words could be a golden key to the heart. There is so much power in being intentional, and I personally find a lot of meaning through spending time with myself and practicing yoga and listening to podcasts, obviously. And to be honest, I'd be a complete mess if I didn't take this time to invest in myself and get to know who I am. You really have to get to know who you are as well so that you're able to move through life accurately so that you're happy. So if you don't take time to self-study and do all the work, you aren't going to be of service to anyone. You also aren't going to do well in your life and in your relationships. So if I could teach you one thing, I would say, do things that fill your cup and help you gain a sense of your reality and your perspective and how you relate to the world, because it's going to be different than others. That being said, I'm going to share all I've learned in hopes that it might help someone. If there's some sort of substance I'd want this podcast to have, I guess it would be that. I'm excited to turn my ideas into something tangible, something that you guys can like go back and listen to and give me feedback and let me know whatever you want, really. I'm open to it. In the future, we can expect some motivational talks because I do feel like I want the best for you. And I am very passionate about this because if you're not spending your life how you want, what are you doing? Like, we have one chance at this. Like, you have one life. And I just really like motivating people to go for what they want. And if I can share knowledge or learn something and teach you so that you don't have to go through stuff, that'd be cool. In the future, we will have interviews. I have some baddies in my life who I'd love to introduce you to. Some of my dream guests are actually friends that I miss and I'm not close to anymore, but they still are admirable humans and I'd love to reconnect. Friendships are very important to me. Like, the longevity matters. I feel like the time and space should not matter. The time that we met or the space that we have. These are things that are fixable nowadays because we have technology, like we have FaceTime. We have all these things that could help nurture our relationships. And I'm going to try to like figure that out and how people can also be better friends to each other, because I feel like we have so much going on, and with all the media and distractions that we consume, like we are losing touch in a way with each other. And I do feel like people do feel alone, and that is a problem. In the future, we will be going mobile, meaning we're going to travel together. I have a bunch of ideas and projects, so I actually am excited to share them with you. Even though this is completely new to me, I feel like we're going to figure it out together and it's going to be fun, and bear with me. If you have anything to say, I'm an open book, like come at me. I guess it was kind of hard to get here because entering the internet space can be really intimidating. So the only way this is going to work is if I make this conversational and I'm truly just going to pretend you're one of my friends. Plus, I'm a producer, party of one over here, and I'm literally just the girl. Just kidding. But it is a lot of work. It was also kind of hard for me to start because I would find myself wanting to say like, oh, you might know me from blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, wait, did you drink too much Celsius or something? Like, why would they know you? But then I'm like, no, actually, a lot of them do know me because how else would they know about this podcast if they didn't already follow you or meet you through friends of friends? So in my head, I just go back and forth, and this became an issue that made me start this podcast years later than it should have started. But I also do want this to be quality, so I understand good things take time. I also want to be very true and authentic because it's just very important to me. I don't want to claim myself as something I'm not. And I feel like I go back and forth in my mind about things and have a mental debate. And I think this is normal for people with anxiety, but I'm going to try and execute this the best way I can. And overall, this did take time because I want it to be good and I want to produce something healthy that people are going to consume. Social media can be so addicting and distracting already that I'm not trying to add to that and make it negative. But then I do think there is good media that actually does inspire you. It could stimulate your mind or just make you feel imaginative. And when it's fun and helps boost moods, like that's great. And that's how I'm trying to be. So hopefully we can accomplish that. In the long run, I do want to help people, but for now, it's just for fun. So lastly, you are a part of this. Welcome. I want to acknowledge that this was a team effort from my friends, photographers, producers, people in my life who I've just asked questions and they've answered. And I just think that's how my world goes around, honestly. I would like to take a second to thank my friends, my family, literal random strangers who have helped me get here. They've all been so patient and supportive, and that has just been so apparent and inspiring. This has taught me that if you open up, share your ideas, and talk to people about what you want, and you're being your true authentic self, you're actually giving them the opportunity to reciprocate that. And overall, that leads to a deeper human connection. Every conversation, suggestion, and piece of excitement that everyone has given me has helped and been a part of this journey to get here. So thank you. As for my newly found audience, you'll have the chance to start the conversation, submit questions, ideas, things you want to see or know. And this can be done through Spotify, I think, and definitely Instagram, but we'll figure it out. Next week's episode will be about wise use of energy. So that's an exciting one. It's also very important. If you're going to listen to any of my episodes, I would highly recommend that one because it's just going to have substance that you can carry in your life through pretty much any situation. So stay tuned for that. If you're still listening and you've made it this far, first off, wow. Second, thank you. And I really appreciate you. And I will see you on Thursdays.